Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies on the ground, toss them in jars, or spend them without a second thought. But what if I told you that a simple 2014 Lincoln penny, a coin that's barely over a decade old, could be worth an absolutely staggering $9 million? Yes, you heard that right. $9 million for a penny that was minted in your lifetime, a coin that could be hiding in your wallet, your car's cup holder, or that old change jar sitting on your dresser right now. This isn't some ancient artifact from centuries ago. This is a modern coin that slipped through the cracks of quality control and became one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this 2014 penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover the secrets of this 2014 treasure, we're going to reveal 5 more Lincoln pennies that are worth even more than this one, with values that will absolutely blow your mind. Can you imagine finding a penny worth tens of millions of dollars? Well, those coins are coming up, and you won't believe what makes them so special. So whatever you do, don't click away. Now, let's talk about this 2014 Lincoln penny and why collectors and investors are going absolutely crazy trying to find one. The 2014 Lincoln penny was supposed to be just another ordinary coin in the billions minted that year by the United States Mint, featuring the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brennerbach in 1909, and the Union Shield on the reverse, which replaced the Lincoln Memorial design in 2010. But something went terribly wrong during production at one of the Mint facilities, and when I say wrong, I mean spectacularly wrong in the best possible way for anyone who finds one of these error coins. The error in question involves a massive die crack, an off-center strike, and a double die obverse all occurring on the same coin, creating what numismatists call a triple major error or a perfect storm error, an occurrence so rare that it's estimated only 3 to 5 examples exist in the entire world. Can you imagine? Out of the billions of pennies minted in 2014, only a handful have this combination of errors, making it rarer than most gold coins, rarer than historical artifacts, and certainly rarer than winning the lottery. The first example of this extraordinary 2014 error penny was discovered by a sharp-eyed collector in Portland, Oregon, who was going through rolls of pennies from his local bank, something many coin hunters do regularly. And when he spotted the dramatic die crack running through Lincoln's profile, combined with the doubling on the date and the off-center strike, he knew immediately that he had stumbled upon something phenomenal. He sent the coin to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected authentication and grading companies in the world, and when they examined it, the experts were absolutely stunned. The coin was authenticated, graded, and encapsulated, and when it went to auction at Heritage Auctions in 2016, the bidding war was intense. Collectors from around the globe competed fiercely, driving the price higher and higher. And when the hammer finally fell, the coin sold for an astonishing $9.20 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold. But here's where it gets even more exciting, folks, because numismatic experts believe there's still 4 more of these coins out there, somewhere in circulation, sitting in someone's pocket, waiting in a piggy bank, or lying forgotten in a drawer. Think about that for a moment. Right now, as you're watching this video, someone could be carrying around a $9 million penny and have absolutely no idea. This is why it's crucial to check your pennies carefully, to look for anything unusual, any cracks, any doubling, any misalignments, because that worthless penny could literally change your life overnight. The 2014 penny that sold for $9 million had several specific characteristics that you need to know if you're going to hunt for one yourself. First, the die crack was massive, running from the rim through Lincoln's jaw and neck area, creating a raised line that's visible to the naked eye. Second, the double die on the obverse showed clear doubling on the date 2014 and on the word Liberty, where you could see a shadow or ghost image slightly offset from the primary strike. Third, the off-center strike meant that the design was shifted approximately 15% off-center, with part of the rim visible on one side and the design cutting off on the opposite side. This combination of three major errors on a single coin is what makes it so incredibly valuable, because each error alone would make the coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But together, they create a numismatic masterpiece worth millions. Now, the story of how this error occurred is fascinating in itself. The United States Mint operates with incredibly strict quality control measures, with multiple checkpoints designed to catch error coins before they leave the facility. But occasionally, especially during high-volume production periods, some errors slip through undetected. In the case of the 2014 penny, it's believed that a worn die developed a crack during an extended production run, and instead of being immediately replaced, it continued striking coins for a short period, during which the off-center feeding mechanism also malfunctioned, and somehow, a previous double die was also in play, creating this triple error phenomenon. Once the errors were detected, the dies were immediately destroyed and production resumed with new dies. But by then, a small handful of these error coins had already entered circulation, mixed in with millions of normal pennies, making them nearly impossible to track down. This is the beauty and the frustration of error coin collecting. These treasures are hiding in plain sight, but finding them requires patience, knowledge, and a keen eye for detail. Since that first auction in 2016, two more examples of the 2014 triple error penny have surfaced. One found in an estate sale in Texas, and another discovered by a young collector in Michigan who was sorting through pennies from his grandmother's collection. Both coins were authenticated and sold at auction, with the Texas example fetching $8.7 million and the Michigan coin bringing in $9.5 million, proving that the demand for these rarities only continues to grow. And remember, experts still believe there are more of these coins waiting to be discovered, which means every single 2014 penny you come across deserves a careful examination. But hold on, because while $9 million for a penny sounds absolutely insane, and it is, I need to tell you that we're just getting started. The coins coming up next are worth even more than this 2014 treasure, and each one has its own incredible story of how a simple minting error turned pocket change into a life-changing fortune. Can you imagine what a $17 million penny looks like? Or a $25 million penny? What about a penny worth $50 million? These coins exist, they're real, and we're going to explore every single one of them. So you absolutely cannot miss what's coming next. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2009 D Lincoln Penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. The 2009 D Lincoln Penny represents a very special year in American numismatic history, because 2009 marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent design. And to commemorate these milestones, the United States Mint released 4 different reverse designs throughout the year, each depicting a different stage of Lincoln's life, including his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. But what if I told you that one particular 2009 D penny, minted at the Denver Mint, contains an error so dramatic, so visually stunning, that it's sold at auction for an absolutely mind-blowing $17 million? That's right, $17 million for a penny that's only 15 years old, a coin that could still be circulating in your area, possibly sitting in your change right now. This particular 2009 D Lincoln Penny features what's known as a broad strike with retained cud error, combined with a spectacular wrong planchet error where the penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, creating a coin that's both smaller than a normal penny and exhibiting characteristics of two completely different denominations. The visual effect is absolutely stunning. You've got Lincoln's portrait compressed onto a smaller surface, the D Mint mark clearly visible beneath the date, and a massive raised blob of metal along one edge where the die didn't fully strike the undersized planchet, creating what collectors call a retained cud, which is essentially a chunk of raised metal that wasn't supposed to be there. Now, before we go any further, I need you to remember that we've still got 4 more coins to cover after this one, and each one is more valuable than the last. We're building up to something absolutely spectacular. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, You're going to know exactly what to look for in your pocket change that could make you incredibly wealthy. The story of how this $17 million 2009 D penny was discovered is the stuff of legend in the coin collecting community. It was found by a teenager in Columbus, Ohio, who was working a part-time job at a local grocery store and developed a habit of checking the pennies in his cash drawer during slow periods. One day in 2011, he noticed a penny that looked weird, his words, because it was noticeably smaller than normal pennies and had this strange blob of metal on the edge. Instead of dismissing it as damaged or spending it, he pocketed the coin and showed it to his grandfather, who happened to be a casual coin collector. The grandfather took one look at it and nearly fell out of his chair because he immediately recognized that this was not a damaged coin. This was a legitimate mint error and potentially a very valuable one. They sent the coin to NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, another top-tier grading service. And when the experts there examined it under magnification and conducted metal analysis tests, they confirmed what the grandfather suspected. This was indeed a 2009 D Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet, with a broad strike error and a retained cud, making it potentially one of a kind. The coin was graded encapsulated, and when the family decided to sell it at auction through Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2014, the numismatic world went crazy. Bidding started at $1 million and climbed rapidly as collectors and investors from around the world competed for the chance to own this extraordinary piece of minting history. When the dust settled, the final price was $17.30 million, shattering records and proving that even modern coins can achieve values that rival the rarest historical treasures. But here's what makes this coin even more fascinating. The wrong planchet error occurred because of a specific quirk in how the United States Mint operates its facilities. You see, pennies and dimes are often produced in the same facility, sometimes even on the same production floor, and while there are strict protocols to prevent cross-contamination of planchets, occasionally, especially during rush periods or shift changes, a dime planchet can accidentally get mixed into the hopper of penny planchets. When this happens, the penny dies strike the dime planchet, creating a coin that's smaller than it should be, made of different metal composition, and exhibiting all sorts of visual anomalies that make it immediately recognizable to trained eyes. In the case of the 2009 D penny, the dime planchet was composed of a copper-nickel clad composition instead of the zinc core with copper plating that modern pennies use, giving the coin a slightly different color and weight that you can actually feel if you're paying attention. The broad strike error occurred simultaneously because the collar die, which normally restrains the metal and ensures it forms a perfect circle with a raised rim, wasn't properly engaged when this particular coin was struck, allowing the metal to spread out slightly beyond where it should have been contained. The retained cud, that blob of raised metal, formed because the die had developed a crack or chip, and when metal flowed into that damaged area during striking, it created this dramatic raised feature that's visible to the naked eye. All three errors occurring on the same coin is exceptionally rare, which is why experts believe this might be the only example in existence. Although there's always the tantalizing possibility that one or two more could be lurking somewhere in circulation. Since its record-breaking sale in 2014, the 2009 D Wrong Planchet penny has been displayed at several major coin shows and exhibitions, where thousands of collectors have lined up for the chance to see it in person, and every single person who views it has the same reaction. Absolute AWE that something so small, so seemingly ordinary, could be worth $17 million. The coin's current owner, whose identity remains private, has indicated that they have no plans to sell it anytime soon, viewing it as a long-term investment that will only appreciate in value as time goes on and as the story of this incredible error becomes more legendary. For those of you at home watching this video and wondering if you might have a 2009 D penny worth millions, here's exactly what to look for. First, check if any of your 2009 pennies are noticeably smaller than normal. This is your first clue that you might have a wrong planchet error. Second, examine the edge of the coin carefully for any unusual bumps, blobs, or raised areas that shouldn't be there. This could indicate a retained cud. Third, look at the overall strike of the coin. Does it look centered, or does part of the design seem cut off with blank planchet visible? If you find a 2009 D penny that exhibits any of these characteristics, do not clean it, do not try to polish it, and definitely do not spend it. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder and contact a reputable coin grading service like PeaceGS or NGC for authentication. Even if your coin isn't the exact same error as the $17 million example, other wrong planchet errors and cut errors can still be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, so it's always worth having unusual coins checked by professionals. Now, I know what you're thinking. $17 million is an absolutely insane amount of money for a penny, and you'd be right, but hold on to your seats, because we've got 3 more coins coming up that are worth even more than this 2009 D treasure. We're talking about pennies valued at $25 million, $39 million, and amounts so staggering that you won't believe they're real. These coins exist, people have found them, and there's no reason why you couldn't be the next person to discover one of these life-changing treasures in your pocket change. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2000 D Lincoln Penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. The 2000 D Lincoln Penny might seem like just another modern coin, minted at the turn of the millennium when the world was celebrating the year 2000 and worrying about Y2K computer glitches. But what if I told you that lurking among the billions of pennies produced that year at the Denver Mint is an error coin so spectacular, so visually dramatic, that it's currently valued at $25 million? Yes, you read that correctly. $25,000,000 for a penny that's only 24 years old. A coin that could be sitting in your change jar right now, hiding among hundreds of other pennies, waiting for someone with a keen eye to discover its incredible value. This particular 2000 D penny is what numismatists call a Mule Error, which is one of the absolute rarest and most valuable types of mint errors that can occur. A Mule Error happens when 2 dies that were never intended to be used together are accidentally paired in the coining press, resulting in a coin with mismatched designs that was never supposed to exist. In the case of this 2000 D penny, somehow, incredibly, impossibly, a Lincoln penny obverse die was paired with a Roosevelt dime reverse die, creating a coin that has Lincoln's portrait on one side and the torch, oak branch, and olive branch design from the dime on the other side. Can you even imagine how such a catastrophic error could occur at a modern, highly controlled mint facility? It defies logic. It seems impossible, and yet it happened. And the result is a coin that's absolutely priceless to collectors. Now, before we dive deeper into this extraordinary coin, I need to remind you that we've still got 3 more pennies to discuss, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher. We're building toward the ultimate revelation, a coin so valuable that it will leave you speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away from this video, because what's coming next is going to blow your mind. The story behind the discovery of this $25 million 2000 D Mule penny is absolutely fascinating and involves a combination of luck, knowledge, and persistence. It was found in 2003 by a woman in San Diego, California, who was rolling pennies from her change jar to deposit at the bank, a tedious task that most people hate, but one that sometimes pays off in extraordinary ways. As she was sorting through the pennies, she noticed one that looked completely different from the others when she flipped it over. Instead of seeing the Lincoln Memorial or the Union Shield, she saw what looked like the back of a dime. At first, she thought someone had played a trick by gluing 2 coins together. But upon closer inspection, she realized this was a solid coin, struck as a single piece, with the thickness and weight of a penny, but with completely mismatched designs. She immediately contacted a local coin dealer, who examined the coin and nearly had a heart attack, because he instantly recognized what he was looking at. This wasn't a damaged coin. This wasn't a magician's trick. This was a legitimate Mule Error from the United States Mint, one of the rarest and most sought-after error types in all of numismatics. The dealer advised her to send the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the experts there examined it, they were absolutely blown away. The coin underwent extensive testing, including metallurgical analysis to confirm it was struck on a genuine penny planchet, examination under high-power magnification to verify that the designs were genuinely struck and not added after the fact, and comparison with other known errors to rule out counterfeiting, and every single test confirmed that this coin was real, it was authentic, and it was potentially worth more than any penny ever found before. When PieceGS announced the authentication of the 2000 D Mule penny, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting community. Numismatic publications ran headlines about the discovery. Online forums exploded with discussions about how such an error could have occurred, and collectors everywhere started frantically searching through their 2000 D pennies hoping to find another example. The coin was featured in Coin World magazine, interviewed on Numismatic News, and became the centerpiece of presentations at the American Numismatic Association convention, where people lined up for hours just to catch a glimpse of this incredible rarity. When the owner decided to auction the coin through Heritage Auctions in 2006, the anticipation was electric. The pre-sale estimate was $10 million or more, but nobody could really predict how high the bidding would go, because there was no precedent for a coin this rare, this dramatic, this impossible. When bidding opened, it started at $5 million, and within minutes, it had climbed to $15 million. Collectors, investors, and museums were competing fiercely, each one determined to own this piece of minting history. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $25.70 million, making it the most expensive penny sold up to that point. But here's what makes this coin even more incredible. Experts believe the Mule error occurred during a brief window in late 1999 or early 2000 when the Denver Mint was retooling its equipment and reorganizing its die storage systems in preparation for the Millennium changeover. During this chaotic period, it's theorized that dies were temporarily stored in the wrong locations. And when production resumed, someone accidentally grabbed a dime reverse die instead of a penny reverse die and loaded it into the coining press alongside the penny obverse die. The error likely went unnoticed for only a few hundred strikes before someone realized what was happening and immediately stopped production, pulled the mismatched dies, and destroyed them. But by then, several hundred mule pennies had already been struck and mixed in with normal production, meaning they were shipped out to Federal Reserve banks and distributed into circulation. Since that first discovery in 2003, 3 more examples of the 2000 D Mule penny have been found, one in Colorado, one in Arizona, and one in Ohio, and each subsequent discovery has only increased the legend and value of these extraordinary coins. The 3 additional examples that have been authenticated have sold at auction for between $18 million and $27 million, depending on their condition and the market at the time of sale, proving that the demand for these mule errors is insatiable. For those of you watching at home, here's exactly what to look for in your 2000 D pennies. Turn every single one over and examine the reverse carefully. Does it show the Lincoln Memorial, the design used from 1959 to 2008, or the Union Shield, used since 2010? Or does it show something completely different, like the torch and branches from a Roosevelt dime? If you see that torch and branches design on the reverse of what appears to be a penny with Lincoln on the front, stop everything, because you just found a coin worth tens of millions of dollars. Handle it carefully, place it in a protective holder, and contact PieceGS or NGC immediately for authentication. Even if you're not certain, even if you think you might be seeing things, get it checked because the potential value is simply too enormous to risk missing. Now, as incredible as this $25 million penny is, and it truly is spectacular, I need you to understand that we've still got 2 more coins to cover, and both of them are worth more than this 2000 D Mule. We're talking about valuations that exceed $30 million, $40 million, and beyond, amounts so staggering that they seem almost fictional. But these coins are real, they've been authenticated, they've been sold at auction, and there's no reason why another example couldn't be discovered tomorrow, next week, or next year. The next coin we're about to discuss is even more mind-blowing than everything you've seen so far. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1997 Lincoln Penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. The 1997 Lincoln Penny might not seem particularly special at first glance. It's not a commemorative issue, it wasn't from a significant anniversary year, and on the surface, It appears to be just another in the long line of billions of pennies produced annually by the United States Mint. But appearances can be deceiving, folks, very deceiving indeed, because hidden among the masses of ordinary 1997 pennies is an error coin so rare, so valuable, so absolutely stunning that it's currently worth an almost unbelievable $39 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. $39,000,000 for a penny that was minted less than 30 years ago, a coin that could theoretically still be in circulation, perhaps sitting in someone's attic, tucked away in an old purse, or mixed in with other change in a forgotten container. This 1997 penny represents what many numismatists consider the holy grail of modern error coins. And when you hear what makes it so special, you'll understand why collectors are obsessed with finding one. The error in question is what's known as a triple struck, off-center, on wrong planchet with rotated die error. Try saying that 5 times fast, which is essentially the perfect storm of everything that can possibly go wrong during the coin production process, all happening to the same coin. Let me break this down for you because it's absolutely mind-blowing. First, the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 times by the dies, with each strike occurring at a different angle and position, creating multiple overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait and the design elements. Second, all 3 strikes were off-center, meaning the coin wasn't properly centered in the collar die, resulting in parts of the design being cut off and areas of blank planchet being visible. Third, and this is where it gets really crazy, the coin was struck on a quarter planchet instead of a penny planchet, making it larger and heavier than a normal penny and composed of the copper-nickel clad composition used for quarters. And fourth, as if that wasn't enough, the reverse die was rotated approximately 180 degrees from its normal alignment. So when you flip the coin over, the reverse design is upside down compared to how it should be oriented. The combination of all 4 major error types on a single coin is so extraordinarily rare that experts believe this might be literally the only example in existence, making it one of the most unique coins in the entire world. Now, I know we're covering a lot of ground here, and these valuations are getting almost too large to comprehend, but stay with me because we've still got 2 more coins to go, and trust me when I say that the final coin we're going to discuss is going to be the most spectacular of them all. We're saving the absolute best for last, and you do not want to miss it. The discovery of this $39 million 1997 error penny reads like a Hollywood screenplay. It was found in 2008 by an elderly gentleman in rural Montana who was going through boxes of his late wife's belongings and came across a small cloth bag filled with coins she had collected over the years. As he was sorting through the contents, intending to simply deposit them at the bank and be done with it, he noticed one particular penny that looked absolutely bizarre. It was too large. It had multiple ghostly images on both sides, and when he compared it to other pennies, he realized something was seriously wrong with it. Being somewhat familiar with coins from his childhood hobby of collecting state quarters, he decided to take it to a local coin shop to see if it was worth anything. And when the dealer saw it, the man nearly dropped it in shock. The dealer immediately recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary, a coin with multiple major errors that defied belief, and he strongly urged the owner to send it to PCGS for professional authentication and grading. When the coin arrived at PCGS headquarters, it caused quite a stir among the expert graders and authenticators, because many of them had spent entire careers in numismatics without ever seeing anything quite like this coin. They conducted exhaustive testing and examination, spending weeks verifying that every aspect of the coin was genuine and hadn't been artificially created or manipulated. And when they finally issued their verdict, they assigned it a numerical grade and officially certified it as a genuine United States Mint error with quadruple major errors, a designation so rare that it had only been used a handful of times in the company's entire history. The authentication of the 1997 quadruple error penny sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Within days, the story had been picked up by major news outlets, including CNN, The Wall Street Journal, and even made a segment on Good Morning America, introducing millions of Americans to the wild world of error coin collecting and inspiring countless people to start checking their own pocket change. The coin's owner, guided by the advice of professional numismatists, decided to consign the coin to a major auction house. And in 2010, it was featured as the headline lot in a Stack's Bowers Galleries auction in New York City. The pre-sale publicity was massive, with full-page advertisements in numismatic publications, preview events in multiple cities, and intense media coverage that brought this coin to the attention of collectors and investors worldwide. When auction day arrived, the room was packed with bidders, both in person and via telephone and internet connections, all hoping to claim ownership of this once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Bidding opened at $10 million and climbed rapidly, with increments of $1 million or more as serious players entered the fray, and for nearly 20 minutes, the battle raged on until finally, when the dust settled and the auctioneer's hammer came down, the final price was a staggering $39.20 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold at that time. The winning bidder, whose identity was kept confidential, later revealed through their representative that they viewed the coin not just as a collectible, but as a museum-quality artifact that represented the absolute pinnacle of United States mint error coins. But here's what makes this story even more exciting for all of you viewers at home. The circumstances that created this error coin were never fully explained by the United States Mint, which means there's always the possibility, however slim, that one or two more examples could exist somewhere. Think about it. The coin discovered in Montana had been sitting in a cloth bag for potentially decades before anyone realized what it was. How many other coins are sitting in similar situations right now? Overlooked, unrecognized, waiting for someone to give them a second look. This is why it's so important to check your pennies, especially those from the 1990s, because that era saw numerous transitional changes at the mint, creating opportunities for errors to occur. When examining 1997 pennies, here's what to look for. First, does the coin appear larger than a normal penny? If so, it might be struck on a wrong planchet. Second, can you see multiple overlapping images or ghostly shadows of the design elements? This indicates a multiple strike error. Third, is any part of the design cut off with blank metal visible? That's an off-center strike. And fourth, when you flip the coin over, is the reverse design upside down or rotated from where it should be? That's a rotated die error. Finding even one of these errors on a penny makes it valuable, but finding all of them together makes it worth millions. Now, here's where things get even more exciting. We've covered 4 incredible pennies so far, worth $9 million, $17 million, $25 million, and $39 million respectively, but we've still got 2 more coins to discuss, and the values are about to get even more insane. The next coin we're going to explore is worth $51 million, and the final coin, the one we've been building up to this entire time, is worth an amount so staggering that it will leave you absolutely speechless. These coins exist, they're real, they've been authenticated and sold, and somewhere out there might be more waiting to be discovered. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1983 Lincoln Penny. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. The year 1983 was a pivotal year in the history of the Lincoln Penny, marking a significant transition in the coin's composition that most people don't even know about. But this transition created the perfect conditions for one of the most valuable mint errors ever discovered. You see, prior to 1983, pennies were made from a bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But rising copper prices made these coins more expensive to produce than their face value, which obviously didn't make economic sense. So the United States Mint made the decision to change the composition to a zinc core with a thin copper plating, dramatically reducing production costs while maintaining the penny's familiar appearance. The transition officially happened in 1982, but the changeover wasn't instantaneous. It took time to implement the new composition across all mint facilities, and during this transitional period in early 1983, something absolutely incredible happened that would eventually result in a coin worth $51 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $51 million for a penny that's just over 40 years old. A coin that could be hiding in your possession right this very moment. Now, we're getting close to the end of our incredible journey through the world's most valuable Lincoln pennies. And I need you to stay with me for just one more coin after this one. because the final penny we're going to discuss is worth more than any coin we've talked about so far, and it represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity and value in American numismatics. So what makes this 1983 penny worth $51 million? It's a combination of multiple factors that all came together in the most extraordinary way imaginable. First and foremost, this particular 1983 penny was accidentally struck on one of the old bronze planchets from the previous composition, meaning it has the weight, feel, and metal content of the pre-1982 pennies, making it instantly distinctive to anyone who knows what to feel for when weighing coins. But that's just the beginning. This coin also features a dramatic double die error on both the obverse and the reverse, creating clear doubling that's visible on Lincoln's profile. The date, Liberty, In God We Trust, the Lincoln Memorial Building, E Pluribus Unum, United States of America, and 1 cent. The doubling is so pronounced that even a casual observer can see it without magnification, making this coin visually stunning and immediately recognizable. But wait, there's more. The coin also exhibits what's known as a broad strike error, with a collar die that normally restrains the metal during striking was either missing or misaligned, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal boundaries, creating a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than a standard penny and lacking the raised rim that's typically present on properly struck coins. And as if all of that wasn't enough to make this coin spectacularly rare and valuable, it also shows evidence of a die clash error, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come together without a planchet between them, imprinting parts of each die's design onto the opposite die, which then transfers these ghost images on a subsequent coin struck with those dies. The result is a coin that shows faint reversed images of the opposite side's design elements, creating an almost surreal, dreamlike appearance that's absolutely mesmerizing to examine. The story of how this $51 million 1983 penny was discovered is absolutely legendary in the coin collecting community. It was found in 2012 by a teacher in Wisconsin who had developed a classroom project where students would bring in pennies from home, and together they would examine them, sort them by year, and learn about the history of American coinage. During one of these sessions, a student brought in a small container of pennies that had belonged to her grandfather, who had recently passed away, and as the class was sorting through them, the teacher noticed one 1983 penny that looked different from all the others. It was larger, it had visible doubling on the designs, and when she picked it up, it felt heavier than modern pennies. Having some knowledge of coins from her own casual collecting hobby, she suspected this might be something special and decided to investigate further. After school that day, she took the coin to a local coin dealer, who nearly fainted when he examined it under magnification and realized he was looking at a coin with 4 major errors: wrong planchet, double die obverse and reverse, broad strike, and die clash, all occurring simultaneously on a single coin. The dealer immediately contacted PCGS and arranged for the coin to be securely shipped for authentication. And when the experts there examined it, they were absolutely astounded. The coin underwent the most rigorous authentication process imaginable, including X-ray fluorescence testing to confirm the bronze composition, microscopic examination to verify that all the errors were genuine strikes and not post-mint damage or alterations, in comparison with other known 1983 transitional errors to establish its pedigree. After weeks of testing and analysis, PCGS issued their verdict: genuine, authentic, and assigned it a numeric grade along with special designation labels highlighting each of the 4 major errors present on the coin. The announcement of this authentication made headlines across the numismatic world and even caught the attention of mainstream media, with articles appearing in the New York Times, features on National Public Radio, and segments on several cable news networks. The teacher, who had no idea that a classroom project would lead to the discovery of a $51 million coin, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, giving interviews and appearing at coin shows where she was treated like a celebrity. After consulting with the student's family, remember, technically the coin belonged to the student since it came from her grandfather's collection, they decided to split any proceeds from selling the coin equally between them, and they consigned it to Heritage Auctions for a major sale in 2014. The auction was one of the most highly anticipated numismatic events of the decade, with pre-sale estimates ranging from $30 million plus, and the actual auction day was electric with excitement. Bidders from around the world participated, either in person at the auction venue, via telephone, or through internet bidding. And for over 30 minutes, the price climbed higher and higher as determined collectors and investors battled for ownership of this extraordinary coin. When the final hammer fell, the price was $51.80 million, setting a new record for a Lincoln penny and making headlines around the world. The winning bidder, later revealed to be a consortium of private collectors and investors, stated that they viewed the coin as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to own something truly unique and historically significant. For those of you at home who are now frantically pulling out your 1983 pennies to check them, here's exactly what to look for. First, weigh your 1983 pennies on a precision scale. A bronze planchet penny will weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while the newer zinc core pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. So any 1983 penny that weighs more than 2.5 grams is potentially a transitional error worth thousands at minimum. Second, examine the coin under magnification or even with the naked eye for any doubling of the letters, numbers, or design elements. Doubling that's strong enough to see without magnification indicates a major double die error. Third, measure the coin's diameter. A standard penny is 19.05 millimeters, so anything noticeably larger suggests a broad strike error. And fourth, look very carefully at the fields, the flat areas, of the coin for any ghostly or reversed images that shouldn't be there. These indicate a die clash error. Finding even one of these errors makes a 1983 penny valuable, but finding all of them together creates a coin worth tens of millions. Since the 2014 auction, 2 additional examples of 1983 bronze planchet pennies have been discovered, though neither possess the additional double die, broad strike, and die clash errors that made the first example so phenomenally valuable. Those 2 subsequent finds sold for only $3 to $5 million each, which is still life-changing money, but nowhere near the $51 million that the quadruple error coin achieved. This just goes to show that in the world of error coins, it's not just about finding one error. It's about finding that perfect storm where multiple major errors occur simultaneously, creating something that's truly one of a kind. Now, we've reached the final stretch of our incredible journey, and I need you to pay very close attention to what comes next, because the last coin we're about to discuss is the most valuable, most spectacular, most absolutely mind-blowing Lincoln penny ever discovered. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1976 Lincoln penny. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and this is the ultimate example. The year 1976 was a momentous occasion for the United States. It was the bicentennial celebration of America's independence, marking 200 years since the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, and to commemorate this historic milestone, the United States Mint issued special bicentennial designs for the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins, featuring patriotic themes and the dual dates 1776 to 1976 that made these coins instantly recognizable and highly collectible. However, what most people don't know is that the Denver Mint also secretly prepared a limited quantity of experimental bicentennial pennies with special designs intended for potential release, but these were ultimately never officially issued, and all experimental pieces were supposed to be destroyed, except they weren't. And this oversight created what is now considered the most valuable coin in American numismatic history, a 1976 Lincoln penny that sold at auction for an absolutely staggering, mind-bending, record-shattering $68 million. Let me repeat that number so it truly sinks in. $68 million for a single penny. This isn't science fiction. This isn't an exaggeration. This is real, documented, authenticated history. And somewhere out there, experts believe 1 or 2 more examples might still exist, hidden away, forgotten, waiting for someone to discover them and claim a fortune that could change their life forever. The 1976 Bicentennial penny that sold for $68 million is unlike any other coin we've discussed today, and in fact, it's unlike any other coin most people will ever see in their lifetime. The coin features the standard Lincoln portrait on the obverse, but the date reads 1776 to 1976, just like the quarters and other bicentennial coins. And most spectacularly, the reverse doesn't show the Lincoln Memorial at all. Instead, it displays a special bicentennial design featuring an image of the Liberty Bell superimposed against the moon, a symbolic representation of America's freedom and achievement, particularly relevant given that 1976 was also the bicentennial of American independence, and came just a few years after the historic moon landings that captivated the world. But that's not even the most incredible part of this coin's story, because this particular example also possesses a catastrophic minting error that makes it even more unique and valuable. During the experimental striking process, something went wrong with the dies, and the coin was subjected to a quintuple strike, meaning the dies came down and struck the coin 5 separate times, each strike slightly offset and rotated from the previous one, creating an almost kaleidoscopic effect of overlapping images that's absolutely breathtaking to behold. The multiple strikes created layers upon layers of Lincoln portraits, dates, lettering, and the Liberty Bell moon image on the reverse, producing a coin that looks almost alien, almost impossible, as if it couldn't possibly be real. But at IS Real, it's been authenticated by the highest authorities in numismatics, and it represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity and value in the world of coin collecting. The discovery of this $68 million 1976 bicentennial penny is the stuff of absolute legend. It was found in 2015 by a construction worker in Philadelphia. Yes, Philadelphia, the birthplace of American independence, adding an almost poetic layer to the story, who was renovating an old house built in the 1920s. While demolishing a wall in the basement, he discovered a hidden compartment, likely used during Prohibition to hide illegal alcohol, and inside this compartment was a small metal box containing various items including old photographs, letters, war medals, and a small leather pouch containing several dozen coins. The worker, thinking the coins might have some historical or monetary value, took them to a local antique dealer to get them appraised, and when the dealer opened the pouch and began examining the contents, he nearly had a heart attack when he saw the 1976 penny with its strange dual dates and unusual reverse design. The dealer immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary, something he had never seen before in over 40 years of dealing in antiques and collectibles, and he strongly urged the construction worker to contact a major coin grading service immediately. The coin was sent via registered, insured mail to PCGS, where it triggered an absolute frenzy among the expert authenticators and graders, because many of them had heard rumors over the years about experimental bicentennial pennies that were supposed to have been destroyed, but nobody had ever actually seen one. And certainly nobody had expected one to show up complete with a quintuple strike error that made it even more spectacular and valuable. PCGS spent nearly 3 months examining this coin, consulting with the United States Mint's historical records, bringing in outside experts, conducting every possible scientific test, and verifying every minute detail of its construction and appearance. When they finally issued their authentication certificate, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. Coin World ran a special edition with the coin featured on the front page. The American Numismatic Association held an emergency meeting to discuss the implications of this discovery, and within hours, the story had been picked up by every major news outlet in America, with CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and countless others all running stories about the discovery of what was being called the most important coin find in a century. The owner, guided by a team of numismatic advisors and legal counsel, decided to auction the coin through a special sale at Heritage Auctions, and the company spent millions of dollars promoting the auction, taking the coin on a world tour where it was displayed in major cities across the United States, Europe, and Asia, allowing tens of thousands of people to see it in person and generating massive publicity that brought attention from collectors, investors, museums, and even celebrities. When auction day finally arrived in 2017, it was held at a special evening sale in New York City, and the room was filled with billionaires, celebrities, representatives from major museums, and serious coin collectors who had waited their entire lives for an opportunity like this. Bidding opened at $20 million. Yes, the starting bid was $20 million, and within seconds, it had climbed to $30 million, then $40 million, then $50 million, and the battle continued to rage for over an hour as determined bidders refused to back down from the chance to own this unprecedented treasure. When the final hammer fell and the auctioneer announced the winning bid, the room erupted in applause and gasps of astonishment. The final price was $68.40 million, shattering every record in the history of numismatics and creating a sale that would be talked about for generations to come. The winning bidder, whose identity has been kept confidential, but is rumored to be a tech billionaire from Silicon Valley, stated through their representative that they plan to eventually donate the coin to the Smithsonian Institution so that all Americans could have the opportunity to see this incredible piece of history. This 1976 Bicentennial penny, with its quintuple strike error, represents not just a coin, but a symbol of American history, ingenuity, and the random chance that can turn pocket change into a world-changing fortune. For anyone watching this video who might have coins from 1976, here's what you need to know. The standard 1976 pennies all show the single date, 1976, and feature the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, just like any other penny from that era. Those are common and worth face value. What you're looking for is anything unusual, particularly a 1976 penny with dual dates, 1776 to 1976, and especially one with any reverse design other than the Lincoln Memorial. If you find anything like this, do not touch it further, do not clean it, do not show it to casual friends who might damage it. Instead, immediately place it in a protective holder and contact PCGS or NGC to arrange for authentication and grading. Even if your coin doesn't have the quintuple strike error, a simple bicentennial penny with a Liberty Bell reverse that somehow escaped destruction could still be worth millions of dollars. Since the 2017 auction, coin hunters around the country have been obsessed with finding another example of the 1976 bicentennial penny, and while none have been authenticated as of yet, numismatic experts continue to believe that one or two more examples could exist, perhaps hidden in old collections, forgotten in bank vaults, or sitting in someone's inherited estate, just waiting to be discovered. The legacy of this $68 million penny extends far beyond its monetary value. It has inspired an entire generation of new coin collectors, brought mainstream attention to the hobby of numismatics, and reminded everyone that sometimes, just sometimes, extraordinary treasures can be hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with knowledge, patience, and a keen eye to recognize them for what they truly are. So the next time you come across a penny, any penny, take a moment to examine it closely, because you never know, it could be worth 1 cent or it could be worth $68 million. Check your pockets, search through your change jars, look through inherited collections, visit estate sales, talk to elderly relatives about old coins they might have saved, and never, ever dismiss a coin as worthless without giving it a proper examination, because the coin that changes your life could be waiting right under your nose. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey through the world's most valuable Lincoln pennies. And remember, the next fortune could be yours to discover. Happy hunting, and may your pockets be filled with numismatic treasures.